Good morning. This is Devin with Homeschool House Calls, the admin in your group, and I'm so excited to talk to you this morning. We are going to talk about high school. Y'all know I'm on a theme lately. It's that time of year. Moms are wrapping up the school year and moving into getting ready to plan for the next year, and we have a lot of new homeschoolers that are going to do high school. So we have a lot of new high schoolers. So anyway, let me find that banner. So today we're going to talk about how do I homeschool high school and where do I start? This is going to be, my Tuesday talks are short unless you start having a lot of questions. But we're going to talk about. Let me fix this so y'all can actually see my face. How weird is that? But anyway, so we're going to talk about how do you start? What are you looking for? So you're. I'm not we're going to assume you're already homeschooling or either you're starting. We're not going to talk about the actual start stuff. So when you decide to homeschool, we're talking about high school. What do you look for and what do you need? So if you are new and you have not homeschooled yet, don't get overwhelmed. We can do some segments next week on how to start homeschooling. I do that a lot. That's my jam. Today we're just talking about high school. So when you decide you have this seventh grader, eighth grader, you realize high school's coming and you start to feel a little bit of panic. I've been there. I have graduated too. Cole and Juliana. I have one in high school, Gabriella, and Olivia, my fourth, is going to be high school next year. She's leaving eighth grade, going into ninth grade. So I'm going to show you where to find some stuff so that you can start getting ready for that. And also remember that we have the high school club, which is a resource for parents. It's new. I only have one video in there so far, and we will start loading more. This will actually probably go in there too, because I've got some information with you. I'm also building some forms that should be ready by the end of the month, that you will have to be able to start plotting and deciding what you're going to do in high school with your high schooler. Now, one of the first things that happens when you homeschool high school, you will start looking at requirements and school will start becoming unfun. I did that to my first two, and I don't want you to do that. This is one of the most precious times you will ever have with your high schooler. This is one of those times where they're starting to move from child, going toward young adult. That doesn't mean they're an adult yet. It just means they're moving that way, and you have so many beautiful ways to connect and see the person they're growing into, and you are going to love it. That's what I'm hoping anyway. So, what do you look for? Your first thing you need to know is what are your state laws for homeschooling. Um, almost most I mean that's your first thing, is you need to know your homeschool state laws. Most state laws do not have any requirements for graduation, but there are a few that do. I don't have a good handle on which ones do and which ones don't. I started doing a rabbit hole research this morning and I could never get clarity. So just know that you need to be aware that your state might have homeschooling guidelines for graduation, but most don't. I live in Alabama. It does not. There's absolutely no exit exam, nothing. So that's the first thing you need to look for. You can go to Homeschool Legal Defense and look at your state laws. And if they're not clear to you, you can write them a letter, especially if you're a member. I harass them all the time and ask them questions all the time. They probably know me by name. And it's mostly because I'm helping other moms. They're very tolerant of me, really. In reality, they do know my name, and they're very tolerant of my questions, and they always treat me so great. But you can look there and find out what your individual state requires. Don't assume just because I'm in Alabama. If you're not in Alabama, assume that you might have something. I think it might be California and Louisiana and Tennessee is what I read this morning, but I don't have good clarity on that. I think Tennessee, it depends on what option you use. Um, they just depend on the options because they have several different. options. So just check Homeschool Legal Defense. Go into your state laws. Look, they will have in there if you need, um, if you have requirements. So that's the first thing you need to find out is your homeschooling laws. And if, here's the second one, I jumped over it and didn't even put it up. Do they have graduation requirements for homeschoolers? Like I said, most states don't. Now, what does this mean for us? If there are no requirements, that means you get to decide what your child is going to take. I always say that a wise mama has a plan. We have to have some kind of plan, even if we tweak and change that plan a year, 2 years, years down the road. We've got to have a plan. So, where do you find that plan? The one thing you need to do some research. If you're getting ready for high school, do your research. Look and see what your public school graduation requirements are. They're not hard to find. All you have to do is go on Google, write in your state, and put in public school, high school graduation requirements. My state has a nice little PDF. It pops up. I use it all the time when I'm talking with moms in my state. Other states have them. You can find what they require and be aware. Now, does this mean that you have to do this? You can find a favorite private school or a favorite charter school or a favorite, I don't know, something from, and you can write out your own. If you have a special needs child, you may tweak it. If you want to do 5 years instead of four, you tweak it. You are in control and you can decide that. Now, what would I do? For me, I always hit the four core. I want about 24 graduation credits. That's what I decided. When I went looking at what public schools require, there are some states that have less than that, some that have a little bit more, but for the basis, 24 is about what they do. What that is the four core and two electives. Um, I use the Alabama for my kids. I use the Alabama high school graduation requirements as a base, kind of like something to look at. I like to name my classes on my transcript the same thing as what the public school has. Not that I want the same curriculum or I want to do exactly the same, but I want them to look similar so that when my children, if they choose to go to college, I have two in community college and one's getting ready to switch to a 4-year college. I want their transcript to look similar so that there are no red flags. Um, I used Susan Hales. You know, she's one of our men's in the group. We often do workshops together, and I use her transcript. Beautiful stuff, easiest stuff I've ever used. I actually make transcripts. I used to make them for at like a side gig, but after using hers, hers is so much easier. I just send everybody to her. I'm like, I I just send everybody there. So she's actually cheaper than what I charge. So um, anyway, so you want that to be named so four core, two electives. Electives can be broke up and be just half a year, so you could end up doing four different things. Use those electives as things to explore. Things they're interested in. My Gabriella is very interested into gardening. So one year I may sign her up for the not junior Master Gardener program, which is very much college level. It'll probably be her senior year, but she loves gardening, and I would love for her to take advantage of that. Most credit hours are going to be 140 to 180 hours of work. Kind of eyeball that. I don't stress over that number too much. I kind of eyeball it. You know, if they really look like they're really involved, even if they only did 3 hours that week instead of 5, I'm not going to sweat it. It's not going to be something I'm going to freak out over. With math, a lot of times I get questions where they'll say, "Hey, my child is not at this level. What do I do?" If they're not if they're pre-algebra, I'm going to put that at ninth grade. Don't sweat over I mean. Most high school algebra 1. If your child's not there, So I think I'm popping on and off because of I don't know why. We have some bad weather coming, so hopefully this is making sense. Let me know if it is. Um, Never skip levels of math. That is just not wise. What you're going to name it is like mathematics 9, mathematics 10. You want them to go as far as they can, but if you skip levels of math, then they don't have a foundation. So that is not something I ever suggest because that's just not a good thing. Don't be afraid to jump outside the box. If you have a child that is not a math major, you can do financial math, business math, whatever benefits them in the long run. If language arts is not doing it, there's business writing, which I think is super, super important and probably should be included anyway. I talk to professors a lot, and I have one dear, dear friend who tells me that her college students do not know how to write a proper essay, not a proper essay, proper email. Sorry, wrong word. And so communication is I think is very important, even if your child especially if your child's going to college or not college. So business writing, where they know how to write a proper email. Email is not text, which should not be treated like text. I'm guilty of that sometimes. So I think that is a very important component that I would, looking at it now, I wish I had included it for the first two. They do pretty good. They usually ask me to critique their email, but that's things to think about. So remember, you have the ability to tailor your credits and your high school journey to your child's needs. Don't be afraid to chase the fun. High school should be fun. They're not adults yet. I don't, I wish I could go back with my first two. I think I wish I would have relaxed a little bit. I feel like I did all the things right. They're doing great, but also I think I wish I had tailored electives a little bit more to them. Um, so, taking into consideration what your state requires, name things similar, whatever your curriculum is. Don't chase the fun names. Name it similar. Mathematics, world history, computer science, so that it's not throwing flags out there. But anyway, my link for the high school club is going to be there. There's going to be work handouts in there. I'm working on them. They should be ready by the end of the month. We will continue in there. We'll continue talking about how to get ready and get started for high school and what you need to get started. We'll have more videos in there show up on YouTube, but the handouts will only be in the high school club. But next week, post below, let me know what your questions are about high school, because then I know what you need. And that is what Tuesday Homeschool Mom Talk is all about. I will see y'all soon. If you're living close to me and there's bad weather coming through, stay safe. Um, Enjoy your day. I love rainy day school. I love rainy school days. We usually try to end early and do some reading for fun so that we can enjoy the rain and hot tea with the rain. But y'all have a great day, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye, guys.